there's an LCS format update. So hey, back to the even splits, where the record doesn't carry over. 2 weeks during each split will be super weeks to keep the same number of games from the prior year. And then the other big thing, which is like actually super crazy news, is something called the Champions Queue. It's an exclusive matchmaking system hosted on a West Coast server for, quote, high skills players serious about improvement. And they wanted to point out that there would be no one tricks, ban toxicity, and it would be curated to best suit the needs of the high level player base. So
I think this is great.
I think so too. I think this is it. I hope it is used more frequently than I think it will be. But I'm super excited for it. No more complaining about ping diff.
There's tons of people complaining about like, oh, so if you're a East Coast player, then go fuck yourself, I guess. And I don't think people fully understand this, right? So people think of it as like every pro player is only going to go play on this, so therefore NA high-elo solo queue is dead. That's not how this will work, right? This will probably be a 200, 300 person to 500 person max allowed queue, right? You're vetted to be on the server. There's been things in like various CS games where like pros would have like their own ladder where like you could queue on and stuff like that. You know how like a year ago, Core JJ was setting up private lobby servers?
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be like that, but automatic, right? So you're vetted to be on this server, whether you're a pro player, a high-elo player, not a one-trick, yada, yada, yada. Then you can play on this server, and probably it's going to be open from certain hours of the day because there's not enough players to keep it open all the time. Like, hey, every weekend from 6 to 10, we have the server open, and you queue up, right? So you have all 500 players queuing up at this point, and then it puts them in a high-rated solo queue lobby where everyone's trying, no one's being toxic, and like that will just create better competition. I think it's fantastic.
I agree. It's definitely interesting.
I can't wait to see like individual pro players like not being allowed on it or getting kicked off of it for being toxic. Like I just think that would be so funny. It's like 4 of 5 TSM members are allowed on the Champions server.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
like,
that'd be interesting if some are and some aren't.
As long as it's handled properly, I think it's great, right? Like this is actually one of the first real big things that the Players Association has done. They're the ones who kind of like started putting this together. Core JJ came to them after like setting up all those lobbies, like, hey, see, this can work. We just need an automated way of doing it. And they worked with Riot, and Riot helped them create this. And as long as it's handled right, it's moderated properly, I think this could be really, really good for NA. Like high quality solo queue games is a great way to actually practice the game. So I don't think it's going to kill the server or anything like that. People who think that, I don't think they fully understand the grasp of this. I mean, once again, I could also be wrong. I'm just kind of comparing it to my limited knowledge of things like this in other games, like kind of just like curated queues and stuff. So
yeah, it's very unrealistic that it's going to be up 100% of the time, and it's pretty unrealistic to be inviting like every single I feel like challenger player even.
Yeah, and ultimately, like I think Aiden, you pointed out really well that like this is something Core JJ was doing in private lobbies, and like it just reduces the amount of administration behind like individual players, teams, coaches, like scheduling scrim blocks. It makes it easier for all of them that like absolutely like TL and C9 can still like book a scrim block where they play like 2 best of 5s or something.
Yeah.
But it also lets them just say, okay, cool, like for whenever the server's available, you can all just play and play with other good players and have good high quality games that are set up this way without like making somebody go and build all those lobbies. Like if this wasn't being built, those people would still be off and not in your solo queue games or not in the challenger solo games. It's like they'd be in private lobbies.
Yeah.
A huge thing is like being able to have scrims on this server as well. I don't know if this is going to be something that they initially do, but having the ability for pros to scrim on, sub 70 ping is going to be absolutely huge.
Yeah, that'll be really nice.
I have a feling that they already had that available to them.
You think so?
Yeah, I think Riot
Okay.
does have a server like that they use for like LCS when they actually don't have LAN working and stuff like that. That's
Gotcha.
like low paying.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I could see that. I also think this is going to be really, really good for like the academy scene, so to say.
Mhm.
Like, I think we're going to see a lot more conversation about it because like most of the LCS players, I would imagine, are still going to be primarily focused on proper scrims with their full 5-man against a full 5-man.
Yeah.
But like, I think this is amazing for like everyone else who's like the next step down, or even if
Mhm.
you're just like on the B roster, or if you're a sub for like a main team. It's like great, you get more experience against really good players. Like you can get in comms, you can work on stuff, and like maybe you discover that like the 80 carry on TL Academy and the 80 carry on like TSM Academy are just popping the fuck off in
Yeah.
Champions Queue, and now like they're gonna start talks to try and get those players together.
Yeah, I mean, it just has to be handled properly. That's like the number one thing is like, I do think we'll see issues. Like, there's always issues and stuff like this, but as long as they're handled properly, it'll be great, right? As long as like you don't have people like egoing, like, because I am mid laner for TSM or I am mid laner for X large team, and this guy didn't play up to my thing, so I want him removed, and I have a big ego, right? Or same thing with like people not trying, right? Just because they're pro players, they go, oh fuck this, like I'm not gonna try because I have like the ego and clout to stay on this. As long as those people are like handled properly, this can only be good for NA. So
Agreed. Awesome.
cool.